Personal story segment tonight, new book called Perfect Ending, Why Your Eternal Future Matters Today. In the book, which is out tomorrow, Pastor Robert Jeffress says, President Obama's policies have some interaction with the Bible. With us now is the pastor. All right, the first issue is Obamacare. How does that have biblical implications?
What I'm saying in the book, Bill, is that there's going to be a future world dictator before Christ returns who's going to usurp people's personal feelings, rights. He's not only going to do that, he's going to wage war against God's people. He's going to change God's laws, and he's going to do it without any opposition. And my question was, how is he going to be able to pull that off? And my thesis is, people will have been conditioned long before the Antichrist comes to accept governmental overreach. And that's what you're seeing with President Obama.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know the Bible, this is based on what? Walk us through how you reached that conclusion that there's going to be a powerful leader, not necessarily in the United States, right?
That's right.
It could be anyone.
Right.
Who's then going to kind of galvanize the world in warfare against religious people, all right? Now, how did you arrive at that conclusion?
Well, that's been the historic belief of the church for 2,000 years.
Which church?
The Christian church. Even Jews look forward to it. In Daniel chapter 7, they believe that there is going to be a world dictator. Daniel chapter 7 in the Old Testament talks about it. Revelation chapter 13 in the Bible talks about it as well. And as you pointed out, Bill, he's not only going to usurp people's personal freedoms, he's going to wage war against God's own people. He's going to seek to change God's moral law, according to Daniel 7:25.
Now, we had that to some extent, a pretty vivid extent, in World War II.
Yes.
With Hitler and the Nazis.
Yes.
And then we had it on a lesser extent with Stalin and the communists. Both ideologies tried to wipe out Christian beliefs and philosophies. So this is going to be like that, worse than that?
It's going to be worse than that. And I want to be clear to say to the folks, I'm not saying President Obama is the Antichrist. In fact, I'm sure he's not, because the Antichrist is going to have higher poll numbers, according to the Bible, at least at the beginning. But I believe he is conditioning people to accept governmental overreach, which they will finally give into when this final dictator comes, whether that's 10 years from now or 1,000 years from now. I'm not one of these.
But he doesn't consciously know that. His liberal vision that the government should be large and should impose a certain lifestyle on the nation would make it easier for somebody down the lane to abuse that. But let's give me two quick examples. Okay. You got one Obamacare example?
Right, I've been talking about that. I'm talking about enforcing the HHS mandate. I mean, he is the first president who's gone after people of faith. He's going after the nuns, for heaven's sakes, for what they're doing.
For imposing, telling that the government can impose a belief that birth control should be paid for by people who don't like it.
Exactly, and not only birth control, we're talking about abortion-inducing drugs. And the fact is, abortion in and of itself is evil. President Obama is, without apology, the most pro-abortion president in history. But what's even worse, Bill, is we are being conditioned to accept that government has the right to persecute people of faith for their beliefs.
But that controversy is going to go the nuns' way. The Supreme Court's going to strike that down.
This time, it's going time.
Okay, what's the second one, real quick?
Well, then talking about the redefinition of marriage. I mean, he's the first U.S. president to do that. That's one of God's basic laws, that marriage should be between a man and a woman. Whenever you counterfeit something, you cheapen the value of the real thing. And I believe one reason for the disintegration of the family and marriage is we're counterfeiting it. Last year, the U.S. had the lowest marriage rate in its history. Whenever you say marriage is whatever you want it to be, two men, two women, a man and a woman, people say, why bother to get married at all? That has great societal implications. You talk about almost every night some of the problems in our country related to the breakdown of the family. I think this is contributing to it. The good news is, though, Christ is coming back. The short-term forecast for the world is turbulent. The long-term forecast is good for the world.
All right. Well, I hope if he comes back, we get the first interview with him, because I wrote the book on him. He's got to give me the first shot.
Absolutely.
All right, Pastor. The book is Perfect Ending. We appreciate you coming on in.
Thanks.